Hello everyone. How are you, my dearest listeners? I want to thank everyone who follows my channel. You're amazing, and I'm sending you love. I also want to thank those who are here for the first time and who will listen to the video until the end. I hope you'll enjoy the 2 new stories about the dark web that I've written. I never thought I'd find myself hunched over my laptop at 2 a.m, diving into the darkest corners of the internet. But here I am, Michael James, just another reporter for the Portland Tribune, about to stumble onto something way bigger than my usual stories about local politics and community events. My editor dropped this assignment on my desk last week. Dark web, the internet's underground. At first, I thought it was just another tech piece to fill the Sunday edition. You know, the kind of story that makes suburban parents panic about their kids' online safety. Boy, was I wrong. My apartment in downtown Portland feels different at night. The rain taps against my window like Morse code, and the glow from my screen casts weird shadows on the walls. The only sound besides the rain is my daughter Ellie's gentle breathing from the next room. Since the divorce, these late nights have become our new normal. Her sleeping over 3 days a week, while I try to juggle deadlines and dad duties. Setting up Tor wasn't as complicated as I expected. A few downloads, some basic configuration, and suddenly I'm accessing .onion domains like I'm ordering takeout. The thing about the dark web is that it's like an iceberg. What you see on Google is just the tip. Below that surface lies a whole other internet, one that was originally developed for military communication. Layer after layer, I dig deeper. First through forums that discuss cryptocurrency, then through marketplaces that would make Amazon look like a corner store. But it's when I hit the 3rd layer that things get interesting. This is where the real darkness lives, where data moves through encrypted channels, bouncing through servers across the globe like a digital ghost. I've been taking notes for hours, building a framework for my article. The technical stuff is fascinating. How the onion router works, the military origins, the evolution into what it is today. But something keeps nagging at me. Between the lines of code and beneath the layers of encryption, there's a pattern emerging. Something that makes my journalist's instinct tingle. The deeper you go on the dark web, the more you realize it's all about connections. After 3 nights of digging, I found myself on a forum for whistleblowers and data leaks. That's where I spotted a user named Printed Truth, sharing what looked like internal financial documents from various media companies. Most files were encrypted, but one caught my eye. A spreadsheet titled PT 2024 Q1, PT Portland Tribune, the same initials. It could have been coincidence, but my gut said otherwise. I spent hours trying to establish contact with Printed Truth, finally getting a response. Check your inbox. Don't ask who I am. The email contained decryption keys and instructions. Following them led me to a hidden server with years of transaction logs, all meticulously documented transfers between various cryptocurrency wallets. At first glance, it looked like normal business operations, but Printed Truth had included notes pointing out patterns I would have missed. My hands started shaking as I dug deeper. Our newspaper isn't exactly rolling in cash these days. Print media is basically on life support. So why was there over 500,000 in crypto moving through accounts connected to our company? These weren't normal business transactions. The patterns were too erratic, the amounts too precise to be random. I created a folder on my encrypted drive and started downloading everything. Transaction logs, wallet addresses, timestamps, anything that could prove what I was seeing. The files came in chunks, 5, 10, 15, then 20 separate documents, each one adding another piece to a puzzle I wasn't sure I wanted to solve. The timestamps caught my attention. Every major transaction coincided with our biggest stories from the past year. The expose on City Hall corruption, the piece about pharmaceutical price fixing, even my colleague Sarah's investigation into local gang activity. All of them had been killed by our editor just days before publication. Each time, there was a corresponding crypto transfer. Someone was paying to keep stories quiet. Our own newspaper, my newspaper, was taking digital bribes to bury the truth. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. All those times the editor said, "It's not the right time," or "We need more sources." It was all bullshit. I downloaded the last file at 1 a.m. The rain had stopped, leaving behind an eerie silence broken only by the hum of my laptop fan. My office felt different now, like the walls themselves were watching me. I'd uncovered something big, too big maybe, the kind of thing people disappeared over. The plan was simple: back up everything, get some sleep, then confront the editor first thing tomorrow. Show him the evidence and demand answers. Someone had to stand up for the truth. Someone had to... My phone lit up. 3 a.m. unknown number. My thumb hovered over the answer button. At 3 a.m., good news doesn't come calling. I pressed accept. Static crackled through the speaker, followed by a voice that didn't sound human. Distorted, filtered, like something from a nightmare. "You're getting too curious, Michael." The voice knew my name. "Those files you downloaded, they don't belong to you." My throat went dry. I wanted to speak, but couldn't find the words. The voice continued, each word precise and measured through its digital mask. "Your daughter Ellie, she's sleeping so peacefully right now. Third window from the left, blue curtains with stars." My blood turned to ice. They could see into her room. Right now. I rushed to her door, pushed it open. She was there, safe in her bed, exactly as the voice described. The curtains moved slightly in the night breeze. "Listen carefully," the voice continued. "You have exactly 1 hour to delete everything you downloaded, all copies, all backups, everything. If you don't..." A pause. "Well, Ellie's only 12. It would be a shame if she had to grow up without her father." The call ended. My phone showed no record of it ever happening. I ran to my laptop, hands trembling as I typed in my password. The encrypted folder was still there, 20 files that proved everything. Evidence of corruption that could blow the whole thing wide open. My finger rested on the delete key. A journalist's job is to uncover the truth, to shine light in dark places. But as I sat there staring at my screen, all I could think about was Ellie, her smile, her laugh, the way she still believes the world is fundamentally good. I pressed delete, watched as each file disappeared. Then I ran a secure deletion program, wiping every trace from my hard drive. By 4 a.m., it was like the files had never existed. The next morning, I sent a 2-word email to my editor. I quit. Some truths stay buried, some stories don't get told. And sometimes, that's the price we pay for the things that matter most. My name is Alex Soluna, and at 27, I've already made quite a name for myself in white hat hacking circles. You know those guys who break into computer systems legally, finding security holes before the bad guys do. That's me. Companies hire me as a freelancer to test their defenses, paying good money to spot their weaknesses before real criminals can exploit them. I'm a perfectionist, the kind who'll spend 72 hours straight tracking down a single vulnerability just because it bugs me. Some call it obsessive. I call it thorough. Living alone in my downtown Austin apartment suits my lifestyle perfectly. Most people would find it depressing. A desk surrounded by humming computers, takeout containers from the Vietnamese place downstairs, and walls covered in sticky notes full of code snippets. But to me, it's home. Social life. Sure, I've got a few close friends who understand my weird hours and random disappearing acts when I'm deep in a project. Dating? Not so much. The last girl I tried dating said I seemed more interested in my computers than her. She wasn't wrong. My family tries to understand what I do, but it's complicated. My dad proudly tells his friends I fix computers, which is like saying a brain surgeon fixes heads. Mom worries I spend too much time alone, but supports me anyway. My younger sister gets it the most. She's studying computer science and sometimes calls to ask about encryption algorithms or database structures. They're good people, even if they don't fully understand my world. The dark web has always fascinated me, not just personally, but professionally. In my line of work, you need to understand how the shadowy parts of the internet operate. Most people think it's all drugs and hitmen, but that's just sensationalist bullshit. The real dark web is way more complex, a maze of encrypted connections, hidden services, and anonymous forums. I use Tor for these explorations, a browser specifically designed for anonymity. It routes your connection through multiple servers worldwide, making it practically impossible to trace. At least, that's what I thought. That rainy Tuesday night started like any other. Austin was getting hammered by one of those massive thunderstorms that make the whole city feel like it's underwater. Lightning flashed outside my window every few minutes, followed by thunder that rattled my monitor screens. I'd finished my latest contract, finding security holes in a local tech startup's network, and had nothing else lined up for the week, the kind of empty time that usually gets me into trouble. I'd been browsing through various .onion sites for hours, jumping from one hidden service to another. Most of it was the usual stuff. Conspiracy theorists sharing increasingly wild theories, crypto enthusiasts arguing about blockchain, anonymous whistleblowers posting redacted documents. But around midnight, I found something different. The video appeared on a forum I'd never seen before, despite my years of exploring the dark web. The interface looked ancient, like something from the early 2000s, with a black background and green text that reminded me of old-school terminal displays. The post title was simply Midnight Ritual Austin, At first, I thought it was just another edgy art project or student film. The footage showed a group of young men gathered around the iconic fountain in downtown Austin's Republic Square. They were wearing masks, not cheap Halloween stuff or Guy Fawkes anonymous masks, but something that looked handcrafted and ancient. The video quality was surprisingly good for a night shot, clear enough to see intricate details on the masks that seemed to shift in the darkness. Their laughter echoed through my speakers, distorted either by their masks or the audio quality. I couldn't tell which. They circled the fountain, and then they started urinating in the fountain, still laughing with that weird, distorted sound that made my skin crawl. I left a comment. My fingers flew across the keyboard. This is shameful and pathetic. Don't you have any respect for the community? I hit enter without hesitation. After all, I was behind Tor's encryption, hidden behind layers of proxies and VPNs. My identity was secure. My location was hidden. I was untouchable. I had no idea how wrong I was. Half an hour later, curiosity got the better of me. I refreshed the page to check for responses. What I saw made my blood freeze. This is very clever, Mr. Suluna. My real name. My actual surname staring back at me from the screen. Suluna isn't exactly Smith or Johnson. It's not the kind of name someone could randomly guess. The cursor blinked mockingly on the screen as my mind raced through possibilities. Had I accidentally logged into something? Left a digital fingerprint somewhere? No, my security protocols were solid. I'd been doing this for years. I knew how to stay anonymous. Panic started creeping in, spreading through my chest like ice water. If they knew my name, what else did they know? My location? My address? The cameras on all my devices suddenly felt like watching eyes. I jumped up from my chair, nearly knocking over my cold coffee, and checked all my windows. The storm was still raging outside, lightning illuminating empty streets below. Or were they empty? Every shadow suddenly looked like it could be hiding someone. How is this possible? I muttered, running my hands through my hair. I yanked the network cables from my router, feeling slightly safer with each connection I severed. My laptop sat on the desk like a bomb that could go off any second. The rational part of my brain tried to argue that I was overreacting. People get doxed online all the time, right? But this was different. This was the dark web, and I'd been behind Tor's protection. That night, sleep was impossible. Every creak of my apartment building made me jump. The storm didn't help. Each flash of lightning threw strange shadows on my walls, and the thunder seemed to be getting closer. I sat in my darkened living room, baseball bat across my knees, watching the minutes crawl by on my phone screen, the only screen I dared to look at. The next 7 days passed in a blur of paranoia. I called in sick to my freelance jobs, making excuses about food poisoning. I only left my apartment for absolute necessities, and even then, I felt exposed, vulnerable, like someone was watching my every move. Looking back, I probably seemed crazy, checking over my shoulder constantly, taking different routes each time I went to the store, wearing hoodies even in the Austin heat. For a week, I lived like a ghost in my own life. No internet, no social media. I even covered the cameras on all my devices with electrical tape. By the 8th day, The rational part of my brain started winning arguments against my fear. Maybe I had overreacted. Maybe it was just some skilled hacker messing with me. Maybe they'd already forgotten about me and moved on to terrorizing someone else. I needed to know. With trembling hands, I plugged the power cord back into my laptop. The familiar hum of the fan felt almost comforting. The boot sequence completed normally. My desktop looked exactly as I'd left it, cluttered with work folders and half-finished projects. Everything seemed fine, normal. I moved the cursor toward the browser icon, heart pounding in my chest. One click to connect to the internet. But before I could click, my screen went black. White text appeared, character by character, as if someone was typing in real time. "We see you.